challenge across the work world and education, right, is really now being thoughtful about what parts of this really are just absolutely irreplaceable from an in-person perspective, right? And to be really crystal clear about it, do I need to come to campus to hear a lecture in a lecture hall of 252 students? I don't know, right? On that one, I'd probably say, yeah, record the video, do a high quality production of it, let me watch it on my own time. And then I'd like to come in and have discussion groups with the TA, right? I'm just making this up. But,
Yep.
but because you've also seen this question come up in the form of students who are suing universities for refunds saying, this online thing, okay, but it's not what I paid for. I paid for, the cultural events, the sports, the residence life, all that kind of stuff. And so, it really becomes an interesting question. What parts do we really need to continue to do in person, or ideally should do in person, versus what might not be, necessary there? That's going to be a whole new experiment for us, because we've never really, I don't think most people haven't thought about the unbundling of work or education as crystallized as it is now that we've had this, global pandemic experience.
Yeah, and if you look at this global pandemic, so we started with, response, react, which was go in the bunker, shut everything down that you can, work from home whoever can, let's prep our essential workers with the right personal protective equipment. Now we're in recovery, where we're sort of starting to open up and say, how many people can be in a restaurant? Can you browse in that store? Or campuses, what will an in-person, when students return to campus, how many can come, and will they be in courts, and all that kind of stuff. What we really need to spend a lot of more time on is reimagine. So say the virus has subsided and we know everything we know now about what we learned from this big forced social experiment. What would you build now that you know what you know from the experiences you've been through? I think we're a little trapped, as you and I were discussing just before we got on this, in the recovery mode, to sort of say, how much can we bring back as opposed to bring forward? We're kind of like, what percentage can we bring back? And I don't think that's the right way to think about it. I think it's, what experiences could we have now, whether it be for students or for employees, that are meaningful? And from an employee standpoint, there's a lot of cost savings in a remote workforce. It's going to reshape commercial real estate in some very interesting ways. It may also reshape our settlement patterns in terms of where we live in the United States. And if we do that, that may be interesting. But when we create those in-person experiences, what are we trying to do? And I think we should spend a lot more time on that reimagine.
Yeah, I agree. I think, leaders have obviously been consumed with the here and now of, all the different challenges that have been presented, and rightfully so, right? These have not been easy things to grapple with, but, the degree to which, we can all start to look on the horizon and think about how do we reimagine this now, I think that's great advice.